Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this NBA podcast. This will be our final one before free agency. So, looking at it, the Golden State Warriors won the NBA championship. And look, I'm saying the obvious, but I'm not surprised at all. I knew that they'd win at the beginning of the year. In fact, it was back in October I predicted it, and look, it didn't take much effort in predicting it. It was so easy. It wasn't that you didn't have to think much. You just knew it would be the Warriors. It was so predictable. I mean, come on, yeah, I predicted the Warriors to win in April. I mean, look, when you predict something, whether it's March Madness, the MLB playoffs, the NFL playoffs, the NHL playoffs, it can get unpredictable. You can get picks wrong for sure. You can be surprised. There can be underdogs, upsets. But in the NBA, that's not the case at all. Usually the team they pick to win, they either go to the finals or win the finals. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be right. And I believe I got every single NBA playoff pick right. I think I only predicted the Clippers to win in the first round. And I was wrong on that. And I wasn't that far off either. So, what happened throughout the series? Kevin Durant, he definitely deserves to be finals MVP. His defense was about as good as ever. Was scoring very efficiently. I think he scored 30 points in every single game. That was just an all-time great performance by Kevin Durant. Just what he did. You know, he finally has a championship after 10 years. You know, he deserved it for sure. All the hard work he's put into, he deserved it. So, the Warriors, what kind of team was this? Well, this team, they're devastating offensively, about as good as anyone in league history. And they had the best defense in the league. So they could do it in both ends of the floor. And they were about as unbeatable as any team ever. I mean, even the 96 Bulls, I believe they were somewhat challenged by the Orlando Magic. And the Sonics took them to 6 games. Fun fact, they also had a 3-0 lead. And it was really all about, they got the revenge on the Cavs. If this is a best out of 3 series, they won 2-1. Whether this will turn into best out of 5 next year, whether this will turn into best out of 7, who knows? Who knows? But the Warriors currently have a 2-1 lead. And the way they're built, they're going to be around for years. Curry and Durant are free agents. How worried are you about? On a scale of 1 to 10. I'd say 1, 1.5, maybe 2. They're free agents, so there's always a chance somebody can leave. I mean, maybe the Hornets offer Curry a ridiculous amount of money, and I don't know, someone else offers Durant, gives him a better deal. But look, Durant is in the best situation he could possibly be. And look, he's in a system that plays very well coached. And the way they're set up, they're built to win a championship this year and many years to come. They're going to be back. I mean, yeah, they're going to be max players. Curry's going to be making $30-35 million a year. So is Durant. But that's just the way it is. The Warriors, I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. The question is, does Klay Thompson stay? Well, look, if he was in another system, if he was in someplace like New Orleans, if he was in Sacramento, if he was in, he doesn't fit their system. Say he's in Atlanta. Say he was in, I don't know, Miami. Was in other systems. He could score 25, 30 points a game. You know, he's a number 3, occasionally a number 4 scoring option here. Well, other places he's clearly a number 1. It's like you have this pitching rotation. For an example, you have 3 great pitchers. In many systems, they'd be a number 1. And occasionally a number 2, but Klay Thompson is the clear number 3 guy. And is he leaving? He might leave in a couple of years. He might think, okay, I've had some fun now, but, you know, I want to be the featured guy. I want to make the most money I possibly can, and I want to be that featured guy, but I don't think he's like that. He really helps him on defense, can be a great scorer at times. He's very, very useful for them. And I think he's going to stay. I think he'll stay. Draymond Green's locked in for a while. Andre Iguodala, now that situation's a little tricky. He's going to continue to decline. He's 33 years old right now. I do not see him in the system for the rest of his career. I believe that he will play a few more years there. And look, this team is going to stay around. They'll sign some veteran role players. They'll get young players. They'll develop. Patrick McCaw, he looks pretty good. He was one of their better defenders when Durant was out. And I think he has a future just building and building. Steve Kerr's a great coach. Hopefully he doesn't have any more back problems. And this team is built to win now. They're built to win in 3 or 4 or 5 years from now. They're going to win, and in my opinion, multiple, more titles. They look like the NBA's next dynasty. And kind of going to paraphrase in the closing credits said by Mike Breen. They were led by Kevin Durant, who was criticized for his moving. That's right, he was criticized. At the time, I did not like that. I didn't like that either, so for a second, let's rewind and go back. So thinking about the Big Three and Super Team eras kind of created then, of how they built themselves, the Celtics. Let's go back. The Celtics were a terrible team, and Paul Pierce was the star of that bad team, and they just weren't that good. And they had no reason to be good. And then they got Ray Allen. He's not an all-time great. He was a great scorer in Seattle, which shows. Which, for an example, let's compare them. Let's say Klay Thompson is like Ray Allen in his prime is on another team. That's what he could do, average 25 points a game. But Ray Allen went to Boston, sacrificed his role. Was still a great shooter there, and he could go off at any time, but was sacrificing. Kevin Garnett was a superstar in Minnesota, got sick of losing, and went over to Boston. They won the championship. That worked. And there weren't these young guys in their prime. They were in their early 30s when they formed together and played with each other into their mid and even into their late 30s. Okay, Miami. So, LeBron, I know I've said this a million times. I know it's been said a million times, but LeBron was on a very good team since he was by far their best player. He was carrying them. Showed what happened when he left. And he was carrying a bad team, which he turned into a good team, even a very good team, into the playoffs numerous times. They made some deep runs, but it was clear they couldn't win the finals. And Dwayne Wade, kind of after Shaq left, kind of in his prime, it looked like the Heat were wasting his prime. They were much worse. And look, so what happened is they came together, so did Bosh. Guys sick of being in that same market, just not being able to get it done. And they formed together to join an okay Heat team, and they turned them into a finals contender. So they did not join a super team. They wanted to win a championship, just like the Celtics, and just like those guys. In fact, in 2006, they were planning it out. And they even asked Carmelo Anthony, hey, do you want a possible plan with us? And he said, nah, I'm good. I'm going to do my own thing, which that's what Carmelo Anthony, and look, this is not a podcast criticizing Carmelo Anthony, but what Carmelo Anthony has done is he has gone on has done his own thing, and apparently it's not working. So anyways, they joined together, and they went to 4 straight finals. I mean, they were a dominant team, clearly. And with Kevin Durant, he was on a team that potentially could look like the NBA's next dynasty. And he was the best player in that team. He won an MVP, had some great moments, but he couldn't quite win a championship. And I bet the second he lost to the Warriors, he was thinking, you know what? I can't beat them even when we push them to the brink. Maybe I should go there. I'm sure some thoughts probably started to appear in his head right then. This is what I can do. And certainly when they lost that 3-1 lead with me, there's no way they'll lose. And when you replace Kevin Durant with Harrison Barnes, that turns into a championship team. And it's funny. You win 73 games without Durant. You win a championship the year before, and you have a 3-1 lead about to win another one, and you lose it. So, thinking about all that's what happened, the Warriors should have three-peated. They should have three-peated. So, anyways, looking at it, the 2008 Celtics, whose team were they? Were they Garnett's team? He ranked very high in MVP voting that year. Were they Pierce's team? They were neither of their teams. They played as a team, and that's how they won. And there were guys sick of losing in their current situations who would never win a championship by themselves and were stuck with losing in their current situations, being mediocre teams, pretty good teams, and even some bad teams. And they joined together, and that clearly worked. What LeBron James did. Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, kind of refreshing on what I just said. They were on some, well, take Chris Bosh out of the equation, you have some on a couple okay teams. But LeBron James and Dwayne Wade were on some very, very good teams, some finals teams. What they decide is, look, we can't keep doing this any longer. We need to come together and win together. And that's what they did. So what LeBron James did at the time was very much criticized, which I would have at a different point, was very much, he turned into a villain. And in 2011, he is all-time low. And people love seeing the Heat fail. But I think what LeBron James did, and granted, Allen and Garnett were trades, and what the Heat formed their team, they were the almost identical, a little bit different, but not that much different of what the Celtics did. Okay? They weren't already joining a team. Sure, maybe they come into Cleveland, or if LeBron James went to Boston, that would be as equivalent. In fact, I saw a tweet on it yesterday. It was I believe the person, the owner of that, had I believe a South Carolina logo and stuff. What it showed LeBron James and Dwayne Wade stuck on their current Heat teams, and LeBron went there since he was tired of losing to the Celtics. He did not go to the Celtics. So what I'm saying is, he did not already join a very talented team. They kind of created a new team, and that's why they had some chemistry problems early on. They were not used to each other right away. Eric Spoelstra took over from a terrible Heat team, might not have been used to coaching a team that good, and was kind of new to coaching guys like LeBron James, where Kevin Durant, instead of I'm tired of losing deep in the playoffs every year, Kevin Durant took the easiest path by far. He already joined a super team that won 173 games, 2, blew a 3-1 lead in the finals, and 3, won the year before. So, what Kevin Durant did was kind of took the easy way out. And yes, he was the finals MVP, so it showed how valuable he was, and he was very valuable. That's why he won the finals MVP. He deserved the finals MVP. He deserved to win that series. He deserved the championship. But the way he got it was not the way previous people have gotten. Now, let's go even back to Jordan. Michael Jordan, in 84, the Bulls were a terrible team. Michael Jordan inherited the Bulls. They were his team. He was with them from the beginning. Scottie Pippen, that was not a trade, not a signing. They drafted him. That was very smart. And he dealt with playoff disappointment, losing to the Pistons, losing in the first round many times. And he finally won a championship, and they became a dynasty. So when you ask, 1, are the Bulls Michael Jordan's team? Absolutely. They would have not won without him. I mean, maybe they would have won a couple, but they would have not won 6 without him. No way. And were they his original team? Were they built around him? Yes, they were. They were his team. And Michael Jordan, an original Bull, was a Bull for basically his whole career. The Wizards technically don't count. And Michael Jordan created that Bulls team. That's why he's such an icon there. They were his team. He was the franchise star. And never left the Bulls. Never came to the Bulls from another team. That's about as good as it gets. I mean, when was the last time there was an original star that kind of did that? Larry Bird, yes, he was original. Kobe Bryant, in some ways, yes and no. When he came there, Shaq came there. And he won 3 championships with Shaq. But there's a debate whether they would have won. Now, would they have won without Shaq there those 3 times? Kobe was young then. He was not the type of leader that he was, say, in 2009, 2010. He was not as experienced. So would they have won without Shaq? Maybe 1. I don't know. But Shaq was a Huge part. That's why he won 3 Finals MVPs. And when he won without Shaq, that finally proved something. He can win a title without Shaq. It is clear that he can win when he's in charge of the team. That was clearly his team. Would they have won without him? Absolutely not. No way. And his second best player was Pau Gasol, who's a Hall of Famer, but is not an elite Hall of Famer, is not one of the best of the best. Great player. Very good player. But will not rank very high up there on the all-time list when it's all said and done. And LeBron James, now if he would have never left Cleveland, it would have been his team. If he would have stayed with Cleveland, that would have been his team. He would have been maybe a slightly bigger icon. But in Miami, was that his team? Well, yes. In some ways, yes. Was it his original team? No. He signed there. He signed there since he's tired of losing in Cleveland. And when you look at it, it's not like he began his career there. And it was clear, if you take him off the team, would they have made it to the finals in 2011? Probably not. Would they have won in 2012? No way. They would have lost to Boston. They might have lost to Indiana without him. They probably would have. Will they have won in 2013? No way. No way. They may have lost to Indiana. No way. So, when you're looking at it, that was clearly LeBron's team, but it was not his original team. This is not built around him. He joined there. So LeBron deserves those finals MVPs. He deserves those MVPs. Clearly a hero in Miami. Clearly would have not won without him. So he's kind of in the middle. And then Kevin Durant. Well, is it his team? Maybe. Sure, he won the finals MVP, but it was a team game. The way they play, the ball movement, the spacing. The Bulls in the 90s certainly didn't have that. Not even close. And the Heat, not really. So, that's one argument. He played in an easier system to win. And Durant, he did not inherit that team. That was not his team at all. In fact, it was Curry's team before that. It might not even be Curry's team. It's no one's team. It's the team's team. They all won it together. It's a team effort, not really individual. And if Durant would have done this in Oklahoma City, he would have been an icon. It was clearly his team, except there was someone else named Russell Westbrook who thought it was his team too, and never fully let Durant be in charge of the team, never fully let him take control. And yes, would have been an icon in Oklahoma City, would have been probably the greatest icon in Oklahoma history, would have just been a true hero in Oklahoma City, would have been a legend there, would have been just, I don't know, they would say he would have been theirs, but he left. And in Oklahoma City, in Golden State, this was not his team. He did not join them, and would they have won without him? Well, let's take a look at 2013. He wasn't there. 2014 or 2016, they should have won, but they blew a 3-1 lead since they had Harrison Barnes, not him. And him coming there, he definitely helped them win. Was a huge part of it. Won the Finals MVP. But if you take him out of the picture, would they have won the Finals? Let's think. They would have not won Game 3 for sure. They would have lost Game 3 for sure. Would they have won Game 5? Maybe not. And then maybe it gets a little more interesting. So it was very valuable to them, obviously, in the Finals. But I think they would have won without him. They're just that. They're great without him, and they're even greater with him. So what Durant did, if you think of all the past Finals MVPs, we know James, we know Kobe. You look at the Pistons. You look at what the Celtics did. This was a super team and not even close. I mean, you look at what the Bulls were. Yeah, they were a super team in the late 90s. You had Jordan and Pippen, obviously, 2 Hall of Famers, but might not have won without each other. Pippen without Jordan, he might have won maybe 1 championship, maybe 2. Certainly would have won 6. And Jordan without Pippen might not have won 6, but definitely would have won a few. He was that great. And with the Warriors, and by the way, Dennis Rodman was their 3rd best player, all he could do was play defense. That was it. where they have Steph Curry, who won 2 MVPs in a row. Best of what he does is the best that anyone can ever do it. Klay Thompson could be a number one option in many other markets, but is the 3 here. Okay, and then there's Draymond Green, and there's Andre Iguodala. They're all stars at some point in their career. They are the definition of a super team, and if there's any super team, it is them. The Heat, yeah, they were somewhat of a super team. They're not as great as what people thought they were, and they might have come up a little short in expectations, even though they won 2 championships. The Celtics, by no stretch of imagination, were a super team. They won a championship and should have won 2. Might have won 3 with Garnett. But they did not have players in their prime. They're all in their 30s. They knew they had a window closing. But they're not quite a super team. Teams could compete with them. Teams could beat them. And they're lucky to win 1 championship. The Heat, they were kind of a super team. Mostly a super team. The Cavaliers, they're not really a super team. I mean, they have 2 stars and a big 3. That's kind of become the model these days. But by no means they're a super team. The Warriors have a better bench. They're better overall. They have an historically great offense against a great offense and a great defense against a bad defense. So it's not even close. That was the most you could ever say LeBron was an underdog. In 2007 he was an underdog. In 2008 he was an underdog. And you could say in 2009 he was an underdog. But now, in the height of his powers, in his prime, possibly the greatest player ever, with a great team around him, a very good team, and he's an underdog. That just shows how superior the Warriors are. They're far and away above the best team in the league. Now when you have, let's say, 4 or 5 really good teams, you give or take, they all might win the championship. Maybe a good 6th or 7th team. It's pretty wide open. A lot can happen. That is not the case at all. 4 teams, okay, 2 in each conference. They'll probably mean the conference finals, so we'll see what the finals matchup are. There's a lot of different possibilities. Well, okay, now there's 2 teams, 1 dominant in each conference. You pretty much know what the finals are going to be. But here, we knew the Warriors would win the championship. It was clear in Game 1. It was clear in Game 2. And Game 3 wasn't certain. Well, Kevin Durant made it certain. They couldn't win in Game 4 since the Cavs got historically hot. In Game 5, it was clear they were the better team. It doesn't matter who you have. LeBron James can get a triple-double for a series, put on one of the greatest shows we have ever seen. Kyrie Irving can score 40 points. J.R. Smith can go 7 of 8. And they have a very solid team. They're a very good team. They won a championship. But the Warriors are just that much more superior. There's never been a more superior team ever. The Celtics in the 50s and 60s, that was when an era where if you threw in David West in that era, you threw in Kevin Love, or I don't know, you could go on and on and on with okay players now were once pretty good players into an era back then and they'd be superstars. It's not even close. I mean, so yes, Bill Russell and the Celtics were superior. In the 80s, it was Celtics and Lakers, but it was not as superior. You had the Pistons, you had the Bulls. In the 90s, you had the Knicks, the Bulls. I mean, the Bulls had some challenges for sure. It's not like you automatically knew they'd win. It was more competitive back then. I've said that word 1,000 times throughout the playoffs. In the 2000s, the Lakers were superior. Man, not quite. The Blazers could have beat them. Should have beat them. In 2001, yeah, they were dominant. One of the most dominant playoff teams ever. No one really had a chance to beat them. The Sixers in Game 1 really made it fun, kind of like this year in Game 3. LeBron James or Allen Iverson, superstars, MVPs, or underdogs. There was definitely some question, and Spurs, they were pretty superior to everyone else. And really in the Eastern Conference, no one was in charge. Yes, there was the Pistons, but teams could beat them. And the Celtics, yeah, somewhat The Lakers, yeah, somewhat kind of towards the end of one decade, beginning of the next. The Heat, they were not quite superior. They had their challenges along the way, and we thought there'd be these teams. We thought maybe the Bulls would get there one day. Never happened. We thought that would happen with Oklahoma City. Never happened. And the Warriors, if you look at this era, even in the 90s, the Bulls had their challengers. The Lakers, the Spurs in the 2000s, they had their challengers. But no one. You look at the conference finals in 2015. They crushed the Rockets. And the Thunder, we thought they were as close as there could be. We thought maybe the Spurs. And it showed for about a half until Kawhi Leonard got hurt that there might be a superior team to the Warriors. And it is clear there is not. No one can even challenge them. And they'll come back next year. And the Cavaliers' future is uncertain. Let's get to that right now. So LeBron James can be a free agent after next year. Correct? Correct. So that means he spent 4 good years in Cleveland, probably 4 finals appearances, very, very successful. And it's possible once again, after all they've accomplished, that he could leave again next year. I've heard rumors on Bleacher Report, I think ESPN, The Ringer, sources like that LeBron James, and these are just rumors, I repeat, they are just rumors, just like there was rumors in 2009 that he'd go to the Knicks. Or stuff like that. They're rumors. So we do not know for sure. It may never happen. Maybe he decides to spend the rest of his career in Cleveland. But maybe he wants to go to the Lakers. Team up with Paul George. By then, there'll be a quality player in Julius Randle. Maybe Brandon Ingram's getting ready to become a star. Maybe he's getting better. The Lakers will be much improved next year. And they could be that team. So, not joining a super team. Kind of same thing. Kind of what they did with Miami. Now, Miami has that reputation. Warm weather like LA. Warm weather. Great location. A lot of well-known people. A lot of very wealthy people. By the ocean. Great location. Great weather, especially in the winter. Miami, it can get a little humid in the summer. So LA has the weather advantage, but kind of same situation. And you're trying to team something up. And granted, the Golden State Warriors are far, far more better than what the Celtics were in 2008 through 2010. I mean, you put them against each other, it's not even close. It's not even close. Steph Curry over Rajon Rondo? Yeah, maybe Rondo can do an okay job defending him. Not even close. Ray Allen, Klay Thompson? And just look at their ages. Maybe if you put all those players in their prime, that could be a good heavyweight fight. But those are guys slightly past their prime. It's not even close. Okay, so LeBron was tired of losing to the Celtics. And if he would have stayed in Cleveland, I bet he would have gotten them sooner or later. Where the Warriors, LeBron James can go out west, he can go to Los Angeles, he can team up with Chris Paul, he can try to do it in Los Angeles, he can try to do it with the Lakers, or wherever. The Warriors are going to be better than you. So what that strategy is you're basically trying to beat them within the conference instead of waiting for the finals. That's going to make it harder. That's what Kevin Durant last July figured out. I can go to the Celtics and I can try to become another icon in Boston, or I can go to the Warriors. 1, I know I'm in the finals, and 2, instead of having to hope to get out of the conference and make it very hard just to make it back to the finals, which could take forever against LeBron, now I can try to win a championship. And that's what Kevin Durant did. And what Durant did was obviously one. He was very smart to do that. He was thinking very well. He outsmarted a lot of people. He outthought me now. When that loss happened, did I think he was going to the Warriors? No, I didn't think so yet. And then you heard rumors of the Warriors, the Clippers. And when it happened, I was surprised. I mean, especially if you're an OKC fan. He's an icon there. And Durant outsmarted the rest of every other team. And while people will call it a weak move, granted, he made it the easiest path possible to win a championship, which, hey, everyone wants to win a championship. but it just wasn't that much of a challenge. And the Warriors got their championship, but it didn't work out. So, with LeBron going to LA, I wouldn't do it, to be honest. You're trying to beat the Warriors in the conference finals instead of the finals. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Oh, and you got the Spurs, you got the Rockets. It's a lot more challenging out there out west than it is out east. And look, they're just rumors. We'll see how the year plays out. We'll see what happens. But look, the Cavs, they have kind of the same team. Is it possible they do a George for Love swap? Give them a few first-round picks and Kevin Love. And then LeBron and Paul George maybe make the decision to leave together. I don't see that happening. Look, I think the main thing they need to do is fix their bench. Their starting lineup is fine. It's fine. Maybe guys like Korver, maybe you don't bring him back. Maybe you decide, you know what? He's not useful enough. Maybe you sign what the Golden State Warriors did, guys, who say, you know what? I'm going to be a free agent after this year. I can get a pretty nice payday somewhere else and I can still try to be somewhat of a star. Or I can go to Cleveland, come off the bench, take less money, and try to win a championship. So maybe the Warriors or the Cavs will be looking more for guys like that, and their future's in trouble. Knowing you're always going to have to face the Warriors, LeBron James, whether you go somewhere east, whether you go out west, whether you stay in Cleveland, the Warriors will always be a threat. And based on what it seemed like in the closing credits of what they were described as a team, not caring about individual numbers, and wanting to win the championship. And that's what they did. They played as a team. And the Cavaliers, at times they look like a great team. Their ball movement looks spectacular at times. Other times, it seems like Kyrie Irving's trying to take over, like he did in Game 3. Or just they're not hitting threes. And look, that's what they depend on so much. And look, the Cavs had no shot to beat the Warriors. And you looked at all the predictions. It was unanimous Warriors. People said 5. People said 4. People said 6. You knew the Warriors were going to win. And I knew they were going to win. And really, from those brief moments in Game 5, the way they're outplaying the Warriors and really fighting against them, you thought, maybe LeBron can do this. Maybe he can. But when you realize no one could have done this, not Michael Jordan, not LeBron James, not Kobe Bryant, it's just impossible to beat the Warriors. And I don't know if the Bulls could have beaten them. I don't know if the Lakers could have beaten them. I don't know if the Spurs could have beaten them. Whichever era you look at, I don't know if there's anyone that could beat them. That's why they won 73 games without Kevin Durant. And when they got Kevin Durant, they easily won the championship. They were 16-1. Now going back to their playoff run, was there any doubt at all where you thought, you know, the Warriors actually might lose one game this series? Game 3 in Portland was kind of like that. They're down by 17. You thought, okay, maybe the Blazers steal one in Portland. Not at all. The Warriors came back and blew them out through the roof in Game 4 in Portland. In the second round, who'd the Warriors play in the second round? Oh yeah, the Jazz. Okay, the Jazz. Was there any doubt? Game 3, I think there was some doubt. And maybe they didn't win by 40 points every game. But you knew the Warriors would win. There was no chance. So they blew out the Jazz. Not even close. The conference finals, the only doubt there was in the first half. You thought, okay, maybe the Jazz or the Spurs might take this game. And this could actually be an interesting series. Maybe the conference is not automatically the Warriors. When Leonard went down, they won Game 1. So, shows how valuable Leonard is to the Spurs. The Warriors just blew them out like they're a bad team. For the rest down the stretch, Game 2 was a blowout. Game 3 and Game 4 at some point in the first quarter. I think in Game 3 there was a little bit of doubt. Maybe the Spurs can win this game. And it wasn't that close at all. In the finals, Game 1 in the first half, you thought, maybe the Cavs can win. And in the second half, they didn't finish. And in Game 3, You knew the Cavs could win. They should have won. They didn't. Game 4, that was the only game I really knew, okay, the Cavs got this. And I thought maybe the Warriors will come back and sweep. And in Game 5, you thought the Cavs could win. So, if you want to say it's a moral victory that the Cavs played competitive for a half, which every game could have been more competitive, especially Games 1 and Game 2. So could have the Cavs won the series? Did they have any shot? At times, especially Game 3, you look like maybe they can win the series. Maybe they can win some games. And they won one game. And that was really it. The Warriors were far more dominant. The Warriors outplayed them. They outsmarted them. They made the Cavs look terrible on defense. Like, you can go back to Game 1. You can go back to all the games. They just outsmarted the Cavs. They outplayed them. They were outcoached, of course. I mean, Steve Kerr, has all these options to go to. He's a great coach. There's no coach better than Steve Kerr. And that's just the way it worked. That's just how it worked. The Cavs I'm sorry. I don't care if you have LeBron James. You could take LeBron James from 2013, 2007. Any era of LeBron James. You could put in Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. And what that shows is LeBron James, at his very best, puts on one of the best finals performances, maybe ever. Averages a triple-double in the series. It doesn't matter. You can't beat the Warriors. And this is the only time that you had a superstar, great player, and a very, very good team against another team. And the best player in the world, maybe the best player ever, and they're outmatched. They were that's the most dominant NBA team's ever been, the 2007 Warriors. Maybe later on I'll put out a poll on Twitter to say the most dominant team ever to see who it actually is. And I assume that it's going to be the Warriors. It's just no contest. Now, let's go back to the 90s. Was there any talent that could possibly beat Jordan in 92? Clyde. At the time, there was actually a debate if Clyde Drexler is better than Jordan. And that series kind of into that. In 93, he had Barkley in his prime. That series was very competitive. It went 6 games. Jordan hit a huge game-winning shot. Or, it was not Jordan. But, that series was competitive. In 96, the Sonics, clearly no player that's close to Jordan. And they give the Sonics effort. They're down 3-0, and they took it to Game 6. So, knowing there's a possibility of a Game 7. Okay, 97, 98. Stockton, Malone, even though they're getting into their mid-30s, somehow they're able to become the dominant team in the West that year since other teams just didn't have it. And Game 6, Steve Kerr at that game-winning shot, that could go 7. Who knows what happens in Game 7? 98, the Jazz should have won Game 6. I mean, Malone lost it when they're up by 1. The Jazz were up by 3 late in the game. Jordan doesn't hit that shot. They're going to Game 7. And who knows what happens. So the Jazz could have had them. And looking at all those factors, it was not that close. And going back to the Lakers, those teams of the West could have had them. And maybe should have had them. Going back to the Spurs, the Pistons should have beat them in 2005. The Pistons could have won that series very well. Maybe they should have won Game 5. Or all that. Look at the 2004 Lakers trying to become a super team. I'm sorry, but Peyton and Malone were at the end of their careers. And the Pistons just blow them out. Had no chance to beat them. And you look at all this, what's happened throughout league history, all the teams, up until now. And the Warriors have gotten much better. They're a much better team than they were 2 years ago. I mean, LeBron by himself gets closer to beating them than with his full and healthy team. That shows. That really shows just how dominant the Warriors are being. And I think they could beat every single team in NBA history. If you had a playoff series against them, if you had a finals one, every single champion before them, you have a game against each other. Every single finals runner-up, every single conference finals runner-up, every single playoff team. I think they'd beat every team ever. That's why I say this Warriors team, maybe the record doesn't show it. I mean, it was a very good record, obviously, but they did not win 74 games. What they did in the playoffs? That's why I declare the 2017 Warriors are the greatest team ever. And I'll put a poll on Twitter, multiple polls kind of in that category. So yes, no chance. No one can beat them. No player, no coach. I don't care what team you throw together. No one can beat them. Early 2000s Lakers? Nope. 2013 Heat? Nope. Great Celtics teams Bird? Nope. Magic Johnson's teams? Nope. Jordan's Bulls? Nope. The Bad Boys? Nope. Popovich's Spurs? Nope. Anyone? Anyone? Can anyone beat them? No. No one can. They're invincible. And they're going to win the championship next year when Durant comes back. I'm calling it right now. They're going to win the championship next year. And they're going to win the championship in 2 years. I don't know when anyone else will come close to beating them. I just don't see a team that can win the championship. I don't care what player you are. I don't care how great you are. I don't care what team it is. I don't care who it is. What team. No team can beat them. I mean, come on. No one can beat them. It's that simple. So, what does the rest of the league have to do? Well, notable challengers, the Cavs, probably the next couple of years, we'll see what he does. Whether it's the Lakers, whether LeBron joins them, whether it's the Clippers, maybe the Rockets find a way to be great. Maybe it's the Celtics, the Bucks. I don't know. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of thought. GMs are going to have to figure out how to outdo what they did. And you think, oh, how did they do this? How did they manage to pull this off? Well, here's what they did. Go back to the 2009 draft with Steph Curry. That was a great draft class, by the way. Other teams could have had him. They're at the 7th pick. They liked him best of anyone. Teams before him apparently did not like them. They chose other players. Teams after them thought, okay, we want him. No, we don't have him. Well, the Warriors did. Klay Thompson. Are you kidding me? I think he was the 11th pick. I think that's right. 8th, 9th pick, something like that. Other teams could have had him, but they didn't want him. They liked someone else better. Which, if you look at that 2011 draft, is anyone better than him? He ranks very high up there. I mean, I'm going to have to look back at that draft class, but no doubt is he one of the better players from that class. And Draymond Green, the whole first round could have had him. Everyone could have had him. But at the time, GMs thought, he's not a first round pick. We don't need Draymond Green. He thought, okay, second round pick. Guarantee you there's people drafted a little before and a little after him that never did anything in the NBA. The Warriors outsmarted everyone. Now that one, I can kind of see. I mean, they saw something that no one else did. And they turned him into a great player. And Kevin Durant, now, he was not theirs. He was a Thunder icon. And apparently they had enough cap space. And they did it. They were able to work something out. And it worked. And the way they played. And Durant has said he's had some of the most fun he's ever had. Yeah, he has. It's so much easier system to play in than when you're playing with someone who thinks it's their team. And the Warriors, is anyone's team? Does Durant care if it's his team or not? Does anyone care? No. They play as a team. So the Warriors, as I said earlier, time and time again, even in 2009, they outsmarted everyone. In 2011, they outsmarted everyone. In 2012, they outsmarted everyone. They outsmarted everyone by hiring Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr made a great decision. They outsmarted everyone by getting Kevin Durant. And of course, every game, they outsmarted everyone. Steve Kerr is a great coach. Bob Myers, great GM, great front office, great scouting department, great everything, great ownership to be able to find those players that everyone else could have had and to just build a champion, to build the greatest team ever. The Warriors have a great front office. Like them or not. Whether you've been a Warriors fan since the 70s, you can recall stories of Rick Barry, whether you're a fan in the 90s, in the 2000s, where you're thrilled just to see a playoff game there for the first time in 13 years, or whether you've been a Warriors fan for 3 years, whether you've been a Warriors fan for 3 months, whether you've been a Warriors fan for that's just the way the Warriors are. They're the greatest team ever. No doubt about it. We'll see if the rest of the league can come anywhere close to challenging them. And if they can, great. If not, well, we're just stuck with the Warriors. So, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.